Hi, in this screencast, we will be using JavaEE 7 to write an application to pull data in from a news website, in this case BBC in particular, and we're going to save those data into an instance of Mongo database. So to do that, we are going to use some features that are new to JavaEE 7, and in particular the scheduled executor thread pools. So since this is the World Cup, what we are going to do is this: the news feed will be coming in from BBC. This feed in particular. Okay, so let's start off the application by creating first the thread pool. Okay, so we are going to use the scheduled executor service. So click on that, and I'm going to create a new instance of this resource. Okay, so I'm going to call it concurrent my feed pool. Okay, so now that it has created, I will now go back. I'll now use NetBeans to create my application. So start off by creating a new project. Okay, I'm going to call this FIFA 2014, and let's make this lowercase 2014. I'm going to use JavaEE 7 and Glassfish, and I'm done with the application. Okay, so let me set this as the main project first. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is this: when the application starts up, it will schedule a thread into the thread pool that I've created, and that thread will run at a fixed interval. When the application shuts down, we will kill that thread. Okay, so to listen to an application, a web application starting up in JavaEE, you have to implement the servlet context listener. So what we do is we create a class. Let's call this app initializer. Initializer. Call this com acme FIFA 2014. Okay, and I will now annotate this class with web listener, and it will implement the servlet context listener. Okay, so this interface has two methods, so we're going to throw in that two method. So let me just remove that first. Okay, oops. Okay, so what so to use a thread pool, you inject it in by using the resource annotation. So let's use the JavaEE resource annotation, and the name is going to be concurrent my feed pool, and it's going to be manage schedule executor service. Okay, so let's call it executor. Okay, right? Okay, so now that we have the executor service, we will now create our thread. So I'm going to create a class. I'm going to call this BBC feed reader. Okay, and I will make this as a CDI manage object by annotating it as application scope, and it's going to implement the runnable interface. Okay, it's going to implement the runnable interface. Okay. Okay, so I'll put a print line statement here to know that it is running. Okay, BBC feed reader, and I'll just put a date here. Okay, save this. Okay, so let's go back to this. Okay, so now we inject in an instance of our BBC feed reader in like that. Okay, so to schedule the pool, to to schedule this object into this pool, we go executor, okay, and then we say schedule at fixed rate, the runnable method, the initial delay. So let's give an initial delay of 5 seconds, and currently for testing we are going to set a really short period, which is like 5 seconds, okay, like that. So what happens is this, right? The schedule, the executor returns a future object. The future object is really the handle to the to this particular thread, or to this particular task that we have just scheduled to the thread pool, right? So to be a good citizen, what we really need to do is this: we really need to keep this handle, and then when the application shuts down, we want to destroy the thread. Okay, so what we're going to do is this: we're going to say schedule future object, and we're going to save this handle into the servlet context. So we go sce get servlet context, set attribute, and I'm going to call this the reader, and this is going to be a future. Okay, so now when the application shuts down, we are going to do the reverse. So we're going to go schedule future, we're going to take this out, from the context, from the servlet context, and then we're going to say future cancel it, and we'll allow interruption of the task. Okay, right? Okay, so let me just put a print line statement here to say that the app is shutting down. Okay, so let's clean and build this application, and we will deploy it and see what happens. Okay, so that's the app, and it's going to start by running. That's after initial 5-second delay. Okay, and then it's going to start running again. Okay, so that's very good. Our application is running. So let's try shutting it down, and you will see that the app has shut down, and that there will be no the thread is no longer scheduled. So the overall structure of our app, we got it running. So now what we need to do is this: we need to get our thread now to actually read the RSS feed from BBC. So the way to do that is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a library called Roam, which supports many different type of feed. Okay, so I've and what I will do is this: I will add that I've created a NetBeans library out from those jar files, and I will now add it in. So this is Roam. So I'm just going to add this in here. So all the Roam libraries. Okay, so to use that, it's very simple. You go feed. The website is actually quite comprehensive. It's got very good documentation, so you can do a lot of very advanced things with it. So we're just going to use the most simple case. So I'm going to use this class called feed fetcher. New. I'm going to use the HTTP URL feed fetcher. Okay. So one of the things is that some website actually supports conditional get. So if that particular website supports conditional get, then you can create an instance of this with a feed fetcher cache. But since BBC doesn't support it, so I'm not going to add that in. So once we've got a fetcher, we can now actually retrieve the feed. So the way to do that is go fetcher, retrieve feed. Okay, new URL. And I'm going to cut and paste the feed. Okay, so I need that starting from here. Control C. Okay, so it's like that. So let me just save that, and this is going to throw a bunch of error exception. So let me just wrap this whole thing in a try catch block first. Okay, catch feed exception. catch exception, IO exception, illegal exception. Okay, so I'm going to catch all that. What's wrong? Okay, feed exception. Well, okay, right. So the feed retriever. Let me just print stack trace. Okay, so the feed retriever returns an object called synFeed, syndication feed. So that is our feed. Okay, so now we've got the feed. We can now loop through the feed and get the entry. So to do that, you go feed, get entries. So ROM is actually written before generics, so it's still, the libraries hasn't been updated. So what it basically does is it return a list, and we have to cast the objects in list to the syndication entry. Okay, so we're going to say object feed get entries. Okay, so it's syndication entry, and then we're going to cast that. Okay, so now we can like just maybe print out the link. Okay, entry get link, and maybe just print out the title. Okay, so let's test our application to see if it is working. So I'm going to clean and build this. Okay, and then I'm going to deploy. Okay, so let me clear the screen. Okay, so after initial 5 seconds, you should see that the data is now coming back. Okay, so now we have got now we are reading the feed correctly. The next thing that we are going to do is this: we are going to now save the feed into Mongo database. Okay, so let me undeploy this first. Okay, so we're going to save the feed into our Mongo database. So let me just change this. Instead of reading every 5 seconds, maybe we want to say read every let's say every 300 seconds also, right? Okay, so let me undeploy this application. Okay, so now so the next thing that we want to do is this: we would now want to connect to the Mongo database. So this is the Mongo instance of Mongo database that I've created, and currently there's actually really nothing in it. Okay, except the two standard database that comes when you create the Mongo when you start up Mongo. So what I'm going to do is this: Mongo is a NoSQL database. Unfortunately, at this point, JavaEE 7 doesn't support NoSQL database directly. So we cannot use the standard way of creating a database connection pool. So fortunately for us, the Mongo Java library has a connection pool. So what we'll do is that we will create an instance of something called a Mongo client, and then from Mongo client, which is the connection pool itself, we will get connections from it. And one other really nice thing about it is that the Mongo client is actually thread safe. So I will now create a class. Okay, so let's call this feeddb. Okay, again, this is going to be a CDI managed, because I will be injecting this into any of the components that's going to use that's going to require access to my feed database. So I'm going to call this application scope, and what I'll be doing is this: I will create I need to add the Mongo database in here again. So again, I've created the Mongo library. I've added in as a NetBeans library. So let me just grab that. Okay, and I'm going to say private Mongo client. Okay, db, right? And client new Mongo client, okay, and it's going to be a to local host, okay, catch unknown host exception, okay. So we're gonna assume that, you know, nothing is going to go wrong, okay. So what we're going to do now is this: we're going to have a method that returns a db collection, okay. So we're going to go get collection, okay, and we'll pass in the name of the collection, okay. So let's call this string name, okay. So to return the db collection, all we need to say is client, okay, get db. We will fix the names of db. Let's call this FIFA 2014, okay, and get collection. We'll pass in the name. So this gives us the option of passing in like a name like BBC, or from CNN or whatever, to get a collection. So now that we have got this, we will now, okay, inject this db feed into our feed reader. Okay, like that. So now that we have got that, what we are going to do next is this. So after we have retrieved the feed, okay, we will now say I want a db collection, okay, and let's say get collection, okay, let's call this BBC, okay. So now that we have the BBC collection, what we are going to do is this: we're going to create an object and then insert this object into Mongo. So it's the object to create is called basic. Basic DB object, okay. Let's call this data new basic DB object, and then I will say data append. So this is key value pair, okay, and then I will say data append like title, get entry, get title. Okay, so let's see what else can we say. We have got the link, we have got a title. Let's get the description. So we can also say append entry, get description, get value. What else can we go? Okay, so we can also get the published date dot append the published date. Okay, let's call this pub date. Okay, entry, get published date. What else? Okay, we can also get the thumbnails. Okay, so to get the thumbnails, what we need to do is this: we need to use a plugin called the media entry. So you go media. So the way you get the thumbnail is to go entry, get module, media entry module dot URL. Okay, so what this will do is this will return the media entry module. Okay, media entry module. So from media entry module, we can now, I need to cast it. Okay, so now from the media entry module, okay, we can now we can now say module get metadata and get me the thumbnail. Okay, so since thumbnail is an array, so I will use now the enhanced for loop. get metadata, get thumbnail. Okay, and then maybe we only want to save one thumbnail. Let's say I'm going to save the link of, let's say, the 144 thumbnail. So if thumbnail get width, okay, is equals, is, let's say, is greater than or equals to 144, right? Then I would say data append thumbnail get URL to string, and then I would say break from here. So once I've done all that, okay, I will now say collection, insert the data in. Okay, so since the BBC website doesn't support conditional get, so what this means is that every time when we poll the feed, right, we'll be getting, you know, all the feed again. So one way to prevent this is to actually check, you know, if a certain feed, we have saved a certain feed. So the only way that we can check is to, or actually not the only way, but one of the way to check is to actually check the link. You know, if we have an entry or you have a document with this link in our collection. So to do that, what we can do is this: we can say if we go collection, find one, okay, with this data. So what we do is this: we create a data object and we get the link, and we say find one if the collection has and then we perform a query on the collection, and if the collection has a document or has a record with this particular link, then we know that it is the entry, we have this news feed, then we wouldn't want to save it to Mongo. So if this is not null, then we would say we want to continue. Okay, so we want to look at the next one. Okay, or you know, if you know that the data is returned in a particular sequence, you know, where the newest always comes first, we can say that, you know, if we can also say that, you know, if we find the first non-entry, non-null, then we actually break from the loop. Okay, but in this case, I'm just going to keep it as continue. You know, so we continue, we loop through everything that comes back, but we only add in a particular entry if it is not in Mongo. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to clean and build, and I'm going to deploy the application. So let me just clean that, and hopefully we wait for 5 seconds. So now it has read the data, and hopefully, you know, it has populated the Mongo database. So let me just go and have a look at the Mongo database. So I'm going to refresh this, and we see the connection in here, and we see the BBC. So let's open this, and these are our entries now. Okay, so we've got a total of 48 documents. Okay, so this is the first part of a 3-part series. So now that we have got the data in a Mongo database, in the next part, what I will do is I will take this data and export it as a REST as a RESTful service to be consumed by our mobile application. So the second part, we're going to take the data and we're going to export it as a RESTful service, and the third and final part, we will build a mobile application to consume the service. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next installment.